see how the other half lives.
I'm too old for you.
I'm too old for me. That's my predicament.
And here we are, as promised, in the choir loft of St. John's in the Village. Sarah, this has been some year for you.
That's putting it mildly, I suppose.
And you've had a lot of attention, and you've been in the public eye a lot. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine, free as a bird, I suppose.
Good.
I think my first reaction to that is so much of that is completely unintentional, not necessarily asked for, but something that I have to now deal with in my life that you have and everybody, on whatever level.
Are you talking about the publicity and
Coming out.
Oh, coming out. Okay. Okay. Now, but you've come out as a lot of things this year. So there's multiple aspects to that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that was for you?
It's been much, much better than I anticipated, because for me, I think a large barrier to coming out was the fact that I had a public life, that I was appearing in public as David Buechner, and that, I didn't have any role models to look to, people who had done that in mid-career, and that I could say, well, this is how you do that,
Does that make you kind of a first in the music business, in the classical music business, as a person of transgender experience?
Very much so,
In fact, you are the first and the only.
I am, yes,
Okay.
first and only, right.
You saw it here first on the Gay Catholic Hour. Okay. So no role models. What did you do? Where did you get your faith, your power? Where did you get that?
I have to say I'm very, very grateful to this church, for much of that, because at the time that I came here, I had been going to a transgender support group, which I did not find particularly supportive or interesting or whatever. It's such a different thing. Just because a person is transgender doesn't mean you have other things in common with them, necessarily. And for myself, these unique issues of there's a public thing involved, and I found myself needing very, very spiritually, and in a way, just like I looked inside to say, what do I really want in my life, and what's really been sort of basic. I looked into my past of all things. My mother had been Catholic, and we left the church when I was about 6 or something. And I thought to myself, that meant a lot to me. And when I saw this church, I thought, let's try this and see what that's about. And this has been my support group.
Now, I just want to mention this is an unscripted interview. I did not ask you to say that, but from the heart.
Church.
Right. So that's interesting. So you actually kind of went back into your experience in order to move forward. And how is it appearing in public now as Sarah? How is that going?
It's going fine. It's very, very slow. People have trouble with the transition, and they, it'll be a few years for me before my concert life, builds up to what it was. But the teaching life has been just fine. And in fact, a lot of kids at the schools where I teach have come up to me, very unsolicited, speaking of solicitations, to tell me that they were very proud of what I had done. They had seen this and this. They had read about it. It was inspiring to them. And one person who said that I was his role model, which was very, very touching to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how old are these students?
Oh, it ranged from age 18, 19 to 24 or so, something like that. Really young adults.
So they're not all queer bashers in that age, right? That's inspiring. See, now you're giving us some inspiration.
No, not at all. In fact, they take this much, much easier than their so-called more mature peers or whatever. And a lot of them just didn't even blink twice. They see me, fine. Can I have my piano lesson now?
Right.
That's all it is.
Do you think the world is learning a little bit about transgender experience, or is that too much to ask for? Is awareness higher, or what's your experience with this?
I think, it's certainly a lot of people. It seems to be a bit of a hot topic right now. And I have the feeling that just as the gay movement maybe 20, 30 years ago just surged forward to the point where people just couldn't ignore this anymore. That's beginning to happen for transgendered people now, too. We're tired of being in the closet and hiding, and worst of all, being portrayed on the Springer show as deviants and miscreants and stuff like this.
Serial killers.
Yeah, at the least, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just absurd, and it's perverted, and it's time for that to stop. And that takes a certain level of, I guess, of self-consciousness and ability to deal with it, to come out and say, this is who I am. Deal with it, But the more people do it, there's a kind of a domino effect, and You know, so I think many more of those people are out now than, say, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
It seems like it. It seems like it. Okay, now let's talk about music a little.
Uh-oh.
How has
Quiz time.
quiz time? No, no, no. I'll lose.
How many symphonies did?
I don't want to know. Has your playing changed in the last year?
I think, you know, for any artist who would go through what I went through, it'd be impossible for it not to change and to just sort of deepen and get better just as you age and you get to know yourself better, that reflects who you are. And I found for myself that I stopped playing with the intention of proving something to people. I very often used to play kind of a little fast and loud and aggressively, kind of like, look what I
Over
can
Butch?
Well, if you must put it that way, yes.
I do that too.
Yeah. Yes, I've seen you do that. It's not pretty. Anyway, we can edit that. No, I found that I was just much more at ease with myself as a person, and so I could relax, and I began to enjoy it much more than I ever had before. I mean, I find myself smiling when I play now.
Right.
A lot. It's just I'm free, you know.
A lot of people here, including me, had the chance to see you in concert, and you did not one, but both of the Chopin concertos, right? Not one, but both. So she still has something to prove here, I would imagine. And you were dressed very elegantly, and you looked very happy to be out there, and we were thinking, the way you were playing Chopin, that's something in here. Like there is other music you can play technically correctly, but everyone was amazed at what was coming through. Did you feel anything that night, or was there a reason you were playing that music? Or
I had, you know, loved those concertos very much, and I chose those concertos as sort of debut material because they are just very beautifully emotional pieces. You know, they're very expressive, and that was my chance to go out and sit down and say, look, I can play two, where others play only
Not
one.
one,
You know, not
two,
one, but
right.
two. So I'm still functioning and doing just fine, thank you. And also to say, this is my musical aesthetic. I want to make something very beautiful and enjoyable, and that's it. And it's very simple.
not to mention that in the Chopin concertos, the orchestra keeps in its place. You're not going to get overpowered like
Well, listen,
Tchaikovsky
We
did.
have the right to be a diva once in a while, right?
And good for you. Well, speaking of divas, how did you like being in the New York Times Magazine? Was that a new sort of level of experience for you? That was huge. Not that I'm jealous, not that I'm sitting around wanting a New York Times Magazine article on me. Are you paying attention, editors?
Right. No, that was a mixed blessing. I mean, in a way, it was something I felt I had to do, you know,
Right.
because honestly, my life had already been turned upside down before coming out because people were talking about me, and there were rumors, there were even slander letters, there was these horrible things I was dealing with. And when I realized this was what I was going to do, I also determined I'm going to do this in a very deliberate, public way, so that no longer will people say, hey, have you heard about this person? You know, like it's a
Right.
deep, dark, dirty secret. I mean, it looks stupid if they do that now. It's like I wanted to say, hey, this is it, and you know, deal with it. You know, and so most of the feedback was positive. I think the negative things I'll never hear about. I mean, little whispered things, I've heard things, but you know, that will never be said to me directly.
Well, we all get silly things said. Okay, so what you're saying is now that you're out, you feel like less vulnerable in a way?
Yeah, much more powerful in a way. You know, just sort of say, here I am now, deal with it. You know, I'm straight up. I don't have skeletons in my closet. Do you?
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
it's
That's a really powerful message for, I would imagine, any of our viewers.
kind of interesting. Actually, a fellow teacher told me this at a New Year's party the other day. He said, you know, he says a lot of people are very jealous because, of course, you know, they have things that they hide or they really don't want other people to know, and then they see you, and it's like you have quote unquote the balls to do with what you did. You know,
Interesting way of
Choice
putting it.
words.
Yes. Joan Jett, one of my favorite musicians, once said, "Girls have balls, they're just up higher." I thought I'd share that with all of us tonight. Do you have a message for any young people of possible transgendered experience, or for people in general, to share with our audience tonight? What would your message be?
Oh God, here I'm called upon to dispense.
You're a role model now, honey. Deal with it.
Pearls of wisdom, you know.
Pearls,
but
yes.
I mean, if they actually happen to be watching and taking in these pearls of wisdom, you know, I think the great poet said it best, right? To thine own self be true. And my other great quote is of Keats: "Is in truth there is beauty, in beauty truth." And it's as simple as that, you know. I mean, there's no point in trying to fit into a society anticipating what will make other people happy. You know, it's very important just to be yourself, whether you're straight, gay, lesbian, bi, trans. Have I left out anything?
Not that I'm
Albanian.
concerned. Albanian,
I
yes,
forgot
yes. Don't
Albanian.
write letters. Okay. So actually what you're saying would be good advice too for any young musician too, right? That
Oh, I sure think so. Yeah.
About the
yeah,
truth.
Of course. Yeah. 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 I mean, especially as young people, those musicians do try to please their elders and to get ahead,
Right.
and so forth. And of course, art isn't about that.
Right.
Art is about being true to yourself and leaving something that's genuine for others. So it's hard to learn that message and get to that place.
Now looking ahead, when can we hear you again? Okay.
We're rolling again.
Now looking ahead, anything to look forward to, like maybe a concert in the near future?
Oh, you're so modest and suave.
This is your
with that.
chance for a plug here. I did it last month.
Right, right. Well, let's see. The next concert I am playing is with the Jupiter Symphony here in town on February 1st and 2nd, playing an completely unknown concerto that's
Try me.
very beautiful. Swiss composer Hermann Goetz.
Good. Okay.
Okay,
You got me there.
Yeah,
You
I
got me
you,
there.
right,
Okay.
right. Well, he was a great composer, and like all great ones, he died young in his mid-30s. He was a Swiss romantic. The music is very Schumann-esque, very romantic, beautiful stuff. And this is one of my favorite orchestras to play with because the leader of this orchestra, Jens Nygaard, is a totally off-the-wall original. He was homeless at one point in his life, and the orchestra consists really of young people who are just getting out of college, who are sort of trying their hand or whatever. And he's one of the first people I told about my plans to come out, and his immediate response was, well, you just come and play as many concerts with us as you want, and let people know that you're playing. So this is one of the concerts we planned.
Okay, and you're playing an unknown, obscure Swiss composer whom you will make famous.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't take that burden.
Anything coming up after that? I mean, now that
And then
you're...
my next big deal is a solo recital. In a way, that's a debut on April 30th in Merkin Hall. So
Oh,
I'm gonna do
nice.
solos.
Any clue what you might be tinkling for us on the keyboard?
The first half is a lot of Bach transcriptions, including Busoni's version of the Goldberg variations. And the second...
Oh, that's like sit up and pay attention music.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
you
Yes,
might
I'm
even have to
sorry.
rehearse that. Yeah.
Well, there's also a final exam for the audience afterwards, right? And then the second half is a premiere of a big new piano cycle. A friend of mine has written, a composer named Larry Bell, who's from Boston, and it's a cycle of 12 preludes and fugues. So it has this kind of Baroque tie-in thing.
So you're not limited to the shameless, romantic, sort of big skirt concertos, right?
No, unlike, oh my God, this is so un-PC. Unlike some women, I'm smart. I have a brain. Edit that.
No.
Isn't it bitchy?
We'll see. Well, some women, some men, and some everybody. They're...
Right. There you go.
Okay, so you play Baroque, you play romantic. Are you going to do anything sort of modern and schrecklich for us at any point?
Oh, everything in its due time.
In its due time.
Look,
okay.
let me tell you, over the last couple of years, as I watched my concert dates to sort of disappear into almost nothingness, the ability to play, let me see, funerals, weddings, ragtime, restaurants, and all those things has come very handy. So,
I'll bet.
So I play it all, yes.
Okay. Well, musicians have to eat too. And I'm also reminded that you were one of Out magazine's. Now, how did they word that? 100 most what? Awesome.
They said 100 people who rocked 1998. So.
And you rocked 1998 with your Busoni and Bach there, right?
Well, with my something, yes, that's right. I guess so. There I was on the music page. Let's see, I was below Boy George, across from George Michael, and above the transsexual singer Dana International. So I thought that's good company.
Not bad. Some of my favorites. And I don't know what you'll do for an encore in 1999.
Oh, God only knows. Listen, honestly, the New Year's celebrations came, and I was with a lot of people who had really difficult years, strokes and breast cancer and things like this, and they were all very happy to see 99 come in, and I guess I was too, but I wasn't necessarily sad to see 98 come to an end. I was exhausted, and I was relieved, whatever, and I thought, that's going to be the biggest year I'll ever have in my entire life, so I'll never forget it.
Well, and you don't know that. It could even get bigger.
I don't think the Yankees can win the World Series, and I can come out in the same year will ever happen again.
You a Yankee fan?
Very much so.
This interview is over. Okay. Sarah, you're a great addition to Dignity, a great addition to the New York music community, and in Boca Lupo in '99.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, isn't that sweet? What a great ending. Ooh. He wants more? Good, no, good.